Okay. Last time in our last class, we discussed all the sources of the Harappan civilization, correct? So,
Yes,
all this great bath, citadel, seals, dancing girl, bearded man, okay, and the dockyard and the script of the Harappans. All these things are the sources from where we got to know a lot of information about the Harappan civilization. So now we are going to see features of town planning. How was a Harappan town planned? Okay. What was the design or the layout of their city? That is what we are going to see now. So here you can see this is a representation of a Harappan town or a Indus Valley. A typical Indus Valley city will look like this. Here it is written map of Mohenjo-daro. Obviously, this is not the real map, but this is an impression, an artist's impression of what a town would have looked like using the evidence that we got. So you can see that there are two levels here. Okay, this is the ground level and this is the raised level. The ground level is called the lower town and the raised level is called the citadel. Okay, so the lower town had houses of common man, of the normal people who were sculptors, who were weavers, who were, growing things, domesticating animals, normal people, okay? So traders, etc. So these were the houses of those people. And on the upper city, which is called the citadel, the upper city is called the citadel. In that upper city, we had great bath, we had granaries, we had maybe temples, and we had places, public places where all used to meet. And we also had the houses of the ruling class, whoever was the leader of their whole, community. His house and everything. So such important buildings were there in the citadel. Okay, and all commoners' houses were there in the lower town. Now, if you see, children, see this image, can you see that the roads, this is the main road, okay, main street. So the main street ran from north to south and from east to west. Okay, north to south, east to west. So that all, and in between houses here, there are narrow lanes also. Okay, narrow lanes are also there. So all these lanes were going like this way and this way. Because of that, the whole city got divided into blocks or grids. Can you see? This is a square. One second. Now this is a square, this is a square, this is a square, this is a square. Such squares are called grid. That pattern is called a grid pattern. Grid pattern. Okay. So the whole city, lower town, was divided into blocks or squares because the streets ran from north to south and from east to west. Every lane also was like that only, from north to south and east to west. Now the houses were rounded at the corners. Now, suppose this is the street, okay? Now, let's say this is the road here and the road is going like this. Okay, suppose the road is going like this. Then bullock carts will pass like this, isn't it? Bullock carts are going like this and then they have to turn. When they have to turn and go, if this is at a right angle like this, if this wall is at a right angle, the bullock carts will find it very difficult to turn. Okay, that is why this edge of the house or the wall was rounded. It was made round. Did you understand? So instead of having like this, it was in a semicircular shape like this, semicircular shape. Clear? So that rounding of the edges of houses. So wherever, so now this is the main street. So in the main street or even in the small streets, narrow lanes and all, wherever the house was in the edge, that was rounded off like this. It was rounded so that the bullock carts can pass easily. Then the house drains. every house had a washroom. They were very clean people, hygienic people. So even today in villages, some villages in India, it's so sad that they don't have washrooms in their houses. But 2500 BC, in those days itself, you know, they had washrooms in their houses. So in their backyard, behind the house, in the backyard, they had a washroom. And the drain, now if you have a washroom, you'll have dirty water. So the dirty water they had, now this is the drain. Can you see in this picture? Now if this was the house washroom, from the washroom, the drain was made and it used to get connected to the city drains. This is the main drain of the city. Street drain. This is the street drain and this is the house drain. So the house drain got connected to the street drains, and the drains were made of brick. Okay, they were made of brick and they were covered. Now, if you keep an open drain, flies and mosquitoes will be swarming on the dirty water and we can get diseases. That is why they covered these drains with stone slabs. Did you understand? So this is how the layout was. So they had drains which connected to the street drains. They had wells in the houses, okay, in the backyard. And then basically this is town planning. Children, there is house planning and town planning. They are two different things. Don't get confused. Features of houses means you have to talk of a house, how the house looks. Features of town means we have to talk about the layout of the city. Clear? So if they ask you a question about houses, you should not write about the town. And if they ask you a question about the town, you should not write about the houses. Are we clear on this topic? Okay. So layout of the city, it was close to the river. Now this is river Indus. So they were close to the river, and lower town and upper town. City was divided into two parts, lower town and upper town. Lower town had houses. Houses were either 1-story or 2-story houses. It housed the people who were common people, and the streets were, they used to go from north to south and east to west, thus dividing the whole city into grids. Okay, so this is what you have to say. And the houses at the corners of the streets were rounded. Whichever house was at the corner, that was rounded. The wall was rounded to enable the carts to pass easily. These many features you need to remember about the town. Now we will see about the features about the houses. Okay, now this is a representation of a house. Something like this the house used to look. Either they were 1-room or 1-story house like this one. This is a 1-story house, or there were 2-story houses like this one. So if you see the houses which were big, okay, which were 2 stories, which had many rooms, okay, there, what in the center you will find a courtyard. This is a courtyard. What is a courtyard? Courtyard is an empty space around which rooms would be there. In the center, there is an empty space. Whose mic is unmuted? I can hear some sound. I have muted everyone. Please check if your mic is unmute, then put it on mute. Okay. Now, courtyard is this open space which is in the center of the house. It's in the center. Around the courtyard, you have corridors or you have rooms which are opening into the courtyard. Now, if you see this 2-story house, in the ground floor, you do not have bedrooms. In the ground floor, we have only kitchen and we have storerooms. Okay. And when you take the staircase and you go up, here you find the bedrooms. Okay. So bedrooms were located in the upper floor, and in the lower floor, we only find kitchens and we find storerooms. And then the house will have a backyard behind. And in the backyard, there will be well, there will be a washroom. Clear? Those who had those whose houses were very big, only they had wells. Not every house had a well, but mostly rich people had their own well behind. Now, kitchen had ventilators. Now, what is the ventilator, children? You guys do not know because you have not seen. In modern buildings, we don't have ventilators because our roofs are very low. You know, the apartments where we are staying, hardly 10 feet is the height of the room, which is actually quite less. In those days, to chodo. Even when I was small, you know, when I was your age and all, some 30 years back or 25 years ago. At that time also, the houses where we used to live, the roofs were very tall. It was about 14 feet, okay, 13, 14 feet. And that's quite a lot. So when you have tall rooms, when you have tall roofs, roofs at a height, then you need an opening below the roof also. Okay, so ventilator is nothing but a opening or a window which was below the roof. Now let's see, this is the roof. Now this is the wall. Okay, like this. Suppose this is the wall and this is the roof. Aman, can you stop whatever you're doing? I can see you. If you're not interested in the lesson, you should not be logging in. I will not waste my breath on people who are not interested. Okay. Can you see? This is the wall. This is the roof. Just below the roof on the wall, here you will have a small window, and that window is called a ventilator. Are we clear? So what is a ventilator? So ventilator are small windows below the roof, just below the roof. We all know that hot air rises up. So when we breathe or any activity happens in the house, any hot air is there, it will go and be on top, just below the roof. So if you have a ventilator there, that hot air will go and there will be free flow of air and light. You know, a good house is a house where there is plenty of sunlight and air coming inside and going. Only then no diseases will come because there is fresh air and fresh light. Sunlight kills all the germs. Fresh air is very important. No, there should be free flowing air. Then in such a house, people will not fall sick. That is why they took care that in kitchen, you know, all food stuff is there. Okay, in such places, there will be lot of um, small creatures, worms, ants, everything will come because there is food there. That is why they made sure that there are ventilators in the kitchen. Are we clear? And doors and windows used to open in the side street. That means that this was a side street or a narrow lane. Okay, so here you can see the door is there, but now this is the main street. In the main street there was no opening of the house. Houses did not have windows or doors which opened in the main street. They all opened only in the side streets. Are we clear about the this one? Features of the house? I hope it is clear. It's very simple. Yeah, thank you. Next, granary. Now, granary means they are big rooms in which grain is stored. That's a granary. Okay. Now it was found in Harappa. First time the ruins of a granary was found in Harappa. You can see these are the ruins of the granary. So they found 6 granaries, 2 rows, 6 granaries. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Similarly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Did you understand? So 6 granaries on 1 row. 2 rows, such rows they found, and they are located on the citadel. They are not located in the lower town. It's located on the citadel because they have to protect their grains. They cannot be washed away in the flood and all that. Then behind these granaries here, they had circular platforms. Circular platforms made with brick. Now, what is this circular platform? See, children, when farmers grow grains, in each stalk of grain, you have hundreds and hundreds of seeds. So, if you take a bunch of stalk, then there will be thousands of grains in that. Can we pick with our hand how we pluck flowers from a tree? One grain, can you keep picking like this? You can't. So what do farmers do? They will dry the stalks. They will cut the stalks of the grain and they will dry it a little. And after it is dried, they take a bunch of, stalks like this and they hit it. They hit it on a stone platform or something that is flat surface, which is hard surface. So that surface is this circular brick platform that they made here, so that all the grain can be beaten on it. Beat and beat, and all the grains will fall away from the stalks. Are we clear? That beating is called threshing. What is it called? Threshing. That's not called beating. It's called threshing the grain. So for threshing, this is the word, thresh. For circular platforms to thresh the grains. Okay. Then there were, along with this, there were 2-room quarters or barracks. Barracks means small rooms. Barracks is nothing but small rooms. So rooms were there for workers who did all this threshing. Then where was this located? Close to the rivers, because not everything was produced in every city. Now suppose they were buying grain from another city, it will come in boats. Basically all these cities were close to the river Indus or its tributaries. Okay, they were all living close there. So easy way of transportation is to go in the boat only, on the water, right? So if you are close to the river, the boat will come and you just can take the grain and store the grain. Otherwise you have to carry long distances. It is heavy. So that is why, seeing the practical aspect of it, what did they do? They located the granary was located very close to the river. Okay, but it was on the citadel. Are we clear now, children? The features of granaries. So granaries are rooms which used to store grain. They had ventilators. Okay, this is to prevent the grains from becoming mildewed. Okay, the word is mildewed, MILDEW. What is mildewing? Even in your houses, children, for a long time, if your mama has not opened a dabba in the kitchen, okay, a box in the kitchen, if there are some grains or something, there will be small worms in it, or there will be powder. Dals and all will become powder. So if you have never seen such a thing, next time when something like that happens, ask your mom to show you. Okay. So such things will happen where the grains get spoiled. Okay. The dal will get spoiled. So that is because of lack of ventilation. So that is why in granaries they had ventilators, so that the grains do not get mildewed. Clear? Next, circular platforms for threshing the grain was there, and rooms, 2-room barracks for the workers to live or to stay or rest when they were threshing the grain was there, and it was located near the rivers in order to help in transportation of grains, etc. Now the next one is trade. We are going to see what trade did they do. Now Harappans, they had a flourishing trade. They had a lot of trading relations, not only with other cities in Indus Valley itself. Not only they used to have trade relations with other cities in the Indus Valley or within India, but they also had overseas trade. Overseas trade means trade with Mesopotamian civilization. Okay, the Mesopotamian civilization is also called Sumerian civilization. So they had trading relations with the Mesopotamian civilization as well. So how did they go? I told you yesterday, Lothal. In Lothal, there was a dockyard. Okay, from there ships used to go carrying all their goods to Mesopotamia, and ships used to arrive carrying goods from Mesopotamia. What all did they trade in? What are the things that they sold and they bought? They sold metals, shell, beads. So metals and shells and beads. Beads, children, again, bead making was a very important occupation, and it was a very highly developed craft. The Indus people, they used to make beautiful beads. Now, making beads was not so easy, children, those days, because everything was done by hand. Nowadays, we have machines and all, but those days, everything you have to make with hand. So, what they used to do, they used to choose colored stones, red color stone, blue color stones, green color stones, small stones they will choose. Now, we all know the stones will not be round in shape. Will they be round in shape? They'll be in irregular shape. So, first you have to rub the stone and make it round. So you have to use some kind of a rough surface and keep rubbing till the stone becomes round. Once the stone becomes round, you have to take some pointed instrument and make a hole in the stone. And if you're not careful, the stone will break. So using precise instruments to drill a hole in it, and that also was very difficult. So they used to do that. After it was done, the stone will be round and it has a hole in it, but it will not be shining. To make it shining, they use something like sandpaper. We all know that if you rub something with sandpaper, it becomes very smooth. And if you constantly keep rubbing, it becomes so smooth that it will shine. Any surface, when you rub it a lot, it becomes so smooth that it will start shining. Same thing they did. Okay. So the beads they rubbed and used water and the sandpaper, kept on rubbing till the bead became very shiny. Okay. So bead making was a very important craft. And then barter system was the system those days for trade. You give something, you take something in return. So no coins and all those things. So are we clear with the trade? So trade was flourishing, inland trade, overseas trade. Inland trade means within the civilization, and overseas trade was also there. Then metal, shell and beads are some of the things that in which they traded, and the method or the mode of trading was barter system. Now we'll have to see which were the important trading centers. Wait. Which were the important trading centers? Now in the exam they can ask you, name any two centers where metallurgy, which was famous for metallurgy. Name two centers which was important for bangle making. Name two centers where cotton was produced or where beads were made. Something like that they may ask. So at least there were so many centers where so many things were made, but we should remember at least two. Okay, so metallurgy was very famous in Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Today also we say, no, carpets. Oh, somebody is going to Kashmir. We say, oh, carpets are very beautiful in Kashmir. You should buy a carpet and come when you come from there. Okay, somebody goes to Nagpur. We say, oh, Nagpur has wonderful sweet oranges. Please buy some oranges for me and come. So like that, every place has got some uniqueness and it is famous for something that it produces. So similarly, those days metal articles were produced very well in Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Okay, then bangle making, Chanudaro and Balakot. Children, does Balakot ring a bell? And do you know which is Balakot? Which place is Balakot? Have you heard this before anywhere? Movie Uri. Have you seen Uri? In Uri, where did these people go and do the surgical strike? They did it in Balakot. Balakot is located in Pakistan. Okay. So, Indian army went and destroyed the terrorist camp in Balakot. So those days also Balakot was a Indus Valley site. It was a Indus Valley site, and those days it was famous for bangle making. Okay. Then cotton was produced in Lothal. Lothal was very famous for cotton and also trading. Okay, it was an important trade center because from all the cities they used to come to Lothal, and from there they used to load their things on the ship, and then they used to go to Mesopotamia and sell their things. So Lothal was a very important city. Then bead making, I just explained to you how they made beads. So Chanudaro and Lothal again were famous for making beads. Now, weights and measures. Now, if we want to do trading, we have to measure. Now, if you go to a vegetable shop, you will want 1 kilo. I want bhendi or something. You say like that. The shopkeeper has to weigh. No, he has to know how much to give you. Same way, those days they also had weights. Now their unit was 16. They used to write. They made stone weights which were cubes. Okay, stone cubes were their weights. Okay, in the shape of a dice. The shape of a dice they had in stones they had made, and 16 number was written on top of it. That 16 was the basic unit of measure. Okay, and if they wanted to weigh higher this thing, then what they will do? If they want to weigh more, then what they will do? They will put more such weights like 16, 32. So bigger weights were multiples of 16. 16, 32, 64, 128, and so on and so on. Did you understand? And if you wanted smaller weights, then it was fractions of 16. So 16, 8, 4, 2, like that. Okay. So this was the way they had stones of different sizes. Clear? They had stones of different sizes, starting from 2, number 2, to it will go on. Okay. So that way they had weights and measures, which were actually stone cubes. Then transport was through bullock carts, horse carts, boats and ships. Because they were close to the rivers, they used boats a lot to go from one place to another. Inside the city to travel, they had bullock carts and horse carts. And to go to Mesopotamia or somewhere, they had to use the ships. Okay. Then art and craft. Now, they were very skilled artisans and artists. We know that because we have seen so many things. One is weaving in the stone, bearded man stone sculpture. We can see the shawl with prints, and also we know that they did weaving and they had prints also, block prints on weaving on their cloth. And then boat making. Then if you have to use boat, you have to make them also. So some people's occupation was boat making. Some people's occupation was making seals. Okay. And some people's occupation was brick making, because bricks were used to make houses, everything. Then terracotta article making. We have seen so many toys were made, with terracotta. Not only utensils, jewelry. Terracotta was used for, that is mud. The terracotta is red mud. It was used to make jewelry, articles, everything, even toys and sculptures, small bullock cart, small, a man, small fish, bird, all these were made. So all that. And then bead making, of course, these were all the occupations. And pottery. Their pottery was very shiny and very glossy. So red, nice, shiny pots they used to make. On that, with black geometrical designs they used to draw. Okay, so this was art and craft. Then sculpture, we know they were very, what do you say? Very good sculptors. One was dancing girl, we have seen bronze sculpture. Bearded man was a stone sculpture. Lot of terracotta toys they made, so that also is sculpture only, basically, because everything they have made with their hands. Now, lost wax process is the process they used to make a bronze statue. Okay. Well, yeah. To make a bronze statue, they used to use a process called lost wax process. What is that process? How can we carve metal? It's very difficult. Metal is hard. You can't, if it's stone, you can take a chisel, you can take a hammer, and you can carve, you can break, and you can give features. But that is not the way, metal sculptures are made. Metal sculptures can't be made like that. So what did they do? First, they took wax. Wax is very soft. Like what is used in candle is wax, isn't it? So that wax is soft. So first you take a block of wax and you make a sculpture. You give features, hands, legs, everything. You make a sculpture of wax. On top of it, you put wet mud. You plaster it with wet mud. After doing that, you bake this. When we bake this and we expose it to high temperatures, what will happen? that wet mud will get baked and it will become hard. And what is inside, which is the wax, will melt. The wax will melt and it will flow out of the that mud, and that mud will harden and it will create a mold, a hollow mold. Okay, so now a hollow mold is created. In that hollow mold, since the wax is out, now we can pour. What can we pour? Molten metal. So hot molten metal is poured in that hollow mold. It's allowed to cool. Once it becomes cool, the metal will solidify. The metal will solidify and it will become hard. Once it becomes hard, they break the terracotta mold. Did you understand? On top is the mud, isn't it? So you just take and break it. When you break, all the mud sculpture breaks off, and inside we get the bronze statue. Did you understand? This was the process of making a bronze statue. This process is called lost wax process. Now, what ornaments we have already discussed, both men and women wore, and they wore all sorts of ornaments in every part of the body, whatever ornament you can wear: nose ring, earring, headdress, necklaces, amulets, bangles, anklets, waistbands, whatever you can wear, everything was worn. Okay, and which metal they used to make all these ornaments? Either gold or silver, precious stones, and ivory, and even terracotta. They made jewelry also with terracotta. Okay, and both men and women wore ornaments, and especially they were very fond of wearing, what is this, uh, bangles. They were very fond of wearing bangles. Yeah, I know some children are raising hands, but I'll just finish this slide and then I'll ask the questions. Toys and amusements, lot of toys, okay, of animal cards and everything, whistles. How did they pass their time? Hobbies, free time, how did they do? All this, whistles, they made whistles for small children, toys, cards and all that, bullock carts, everything. Dice games were there for elders. Hunting and fishing was a hobby that they pursued. It was a hobby. That's, hunting was not a full-time activity. Hunting and fishing was a hobby. Playing musical instruments like drum and lyre. What is this lyre? Lyre is a stringed instrument, an instrument which has lot of strings, like a harp. If anybody of you has seen a harp, it has a lot of strings. String like this. If you do, a sound will come. So that